Hi, ladies. How's everyone doing?
Hello.
Hello.
Good.
Great. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third installment of the Sister Friends Chat. And I'm Amy Kangarati.
I'm Desiree Young.
Hi,
I'm
Des.
here.
Hey, Erica.
Hi.
So, today we wanted to chat about social media and how social media has affected us in our personal lives and in our professional lives. And just kind of open up a discourse about just how social media has taken over the world and changed our lives for the better and for the worse. So with that, I guess I'll start us all off. For me, I've always kind of had a ambivalent relationship with social media. It's kind of the introvert in me. I'm not one who has to share everything that happens in my life on social media, but it is a great way to keep in touch with friends and family and share pictures. But for me, I've never really had to deal with using it to promote a business or to promote myself in any way. So I've had the luxury of just using it casually. But I do realize in this day and age that that's not everyone's reality. And so we've spoke about this before, just personally, and we thought it would be kind of a good idea to open up the discussion and just kind of chat about it and see how social media has impacted each of us. So with that, Des, would you like to share some of your musings on social media and in your life?
Definitely. So I thought about this and getting an interesting back echo, but I don't think it'll translate in the recording. But when social media was first on the scene, I was like all in and enjoyed it. I was using it to promote things. It wasn't as cluttered yet. And I think that I started getting in my own head because as more people got on, especially people touting their business and lives and their business lives, how people do that weird integration, there was a part of me that started to kind of go a bit silent. And it's so interesting because my relationship now, it's kind of like I use the analogy of it's the boyfriend that was great and something happened and I broke up. But I really know I need to get back with him because he good for me, but I cannot bring myself to do it. That is where I am right now.
I love it. That's so clear. Such a clear illustration.
It was very vivid, very vivid.
That's good.
So, Erica, how about you? What are your thoughts?
Wow. I have spent a lot of time not enjoying social media. Um, I'm a private person, and I feel like in so many ways, sharing means I'm foregoing privacy.
Yeah.
The flip side of it is I am blessed and I have blessings that I guess I could be sharing. Of course, my family, but just blessings inside of me, wisdom that I have that I could be sharing. But um, lots of times I choose to keep them private. I choose to keep my thoughts private. I choose to keep where I go and experience life and who I experience life with private. But then I see others doing it, and I sort of wish I could maybe free myself a little bit more to share, to boast, to share the highlights because that's what it is. So that's it personally. Um, but I've also the flip side of it is, which I didn't even think of until we started talking just now, that I have made some really good connections, good friendships through social media and or getting involved in groups and that kind of thing. I have made some connections that I never would have made unless I did that. So for that, I'm grateful. So I like doing groups. I like meeting new people. and what feels like for some reason a safe space, and even taking those connections off of that platform into, like, we're messaging or we're doing chats with platforms like this, not another podcast, but I'm saying, one of my closest friends I met online. We were in a writers group together, and I mean, I consider that social media too. And now we like chat once a week. So it's brought good into my life, but it's also been just hard. I just don't feel like I was designed to know everybody's everything. I don't feel like I was designed to take in everyone's places they're going, their highlights. And that seems, I don't know. I just think there was a simpler day and age when all you had to contain was the people that were calling you on the phone, or, but now it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm taking in this and this and this and this and this. And somehow comparison creeps in somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, I should be there. They didn't invite me. I mean, just like, like reduced down to a kindergartner sometimes, because like I said, I don't feel like I was designed to know all of that stuff. So I take breaks. I take long breaks.
Yeah. I'm on a break too currently with Facebook. I removed all the notifications that come to my phone, and it has just been freeing because it's almost like overstimulation when you're constantly getting notifications, and then you find yourself scrolling mindlessly through your Facebook feed, and you go. For me personally, I would go through lots of, like, an emotional roller coaster, anywhere from disgust and seeing people overshare too much about everything. As you mentioned, comparison would creep in when I see someone on this great vacation just living it up, and I'm like, I'm just here. But and then also, I just think it was just too much for me at some point. At sometimes, just too much information all at once. And so for me, I like to take a step back. But
Right.
um, social media, it has a lot of advantages. I mean, I think about the things that I watch, like podcasts and maybe some Facebook things that I watch, and some things can be very inspirational, like Jada Pinkett Smith's Red Table Talk. That's been kind of a game changer. I mean, because how often did you get to see three women of color actually sit around and talk about things that happen in everyday life? I think that's been, and the success of her show is evident that there was missing voice out in the interwebs, that people needed to hear that. But on the flip side of that, there's a lot of content that you see on Facebook and Instagram that is not soul inspiring, and it takes a lot of discernment and a lot of discipline, frankly, just to make sure that you're not letting too much stuff into your brain. um, and it's, our kids, I think about the younger generation. I was talking to my son earlier today, and he follows this YouTuber, young YouTuber on he does gaming videos. And the young man, he was missing last week, and he committed suicide. So, for me, it just opened up a lot of it just today I've kind of gone through a roller coaster of emotions, because this is a young man who had I think he had 1 million followers, and prior to committing suicide, he posted a goodbye video, and he has a lot of young followers, my son included. And my motherly instincts are saying, "Wow, I really need to start monitoring what my kid is watching." But on the other hand, I can't protect him from it. I can't protect my children from all content that's on the internet. So, I had to have a conversation with my child about a topic, a very grown-up topic about suicide and mental health, and it just made me think about how, when we engage in social media, not just we, our children, adults, we're opening up our door to a lot of content we're opening up ourselves to a lot of emotion that we're not even mindful of sometimes, because my son never met this young man, but he felt the connect. He'd been following him for years, and he felt the connection to him, and I'm sure a lot of his followers did as well, and he felt a sense of loss for someone that he never met before. And for me, one of the things my son and I spoke about today is that it's important to have not only social media friends and digital friends, but you also have to have human relationships. So there has to be a balance. You can't always have friends that you're talking to in a group chat or on Instagram, or whatever method you use to speak to people. You actually have to make an effort to speak to the people that live in your house, speak to your neighbors, and make some human connections, because you know you can have a million followers and still be lonely, apparently. And so that just kind of stuck with me from a parenting point of view. um
So I
I
have a
just
question, Amy. I'm
Yeah, sure,
curious.
go ahead.
Do you
Mhm.
think that if he were not online, that maybe he would not have committed suicide? Do you believe, I mean,
I
can your
don't
mother
I
sense
don't know
that part of that was linked in any way?
I don't know much about this young man. I know he was 28 years old, and apparently he had some mental health struggles. So I don't know if it was social media or YouTubing that pushed him over the edge. I don't think so. I think he was just a troubled young man. Um, and apparently he had taken some breaks on and off from YouTube. So I'm not going to put all the onus on social media or YouTube. I don't. I think he had some other underlying issues. But um, the thing that just resonated with me is that he made a goodbye video prior to committing suicide. And so for 2 or 3 days, he had a whole following of people that were worried about him. And because I remember my son mentioning, this his the YouTuber mom he's missing, and I'm worried about him. He said, I want to pray for him. I'm like, okay, well, pray for him. Let's pray for him. And then this morning, he woke up, and James was kind of looking through his news feed, and he saw that they found him. The young man was located in New York. So, not knowing a lot about this young man, I just the thing, like I said, the thing that resonated with me is that people are building these relationships with these online personalities. And although they may not have met this person in real life, they still feel a sense of connection. And I also find it kind of like a dichotomy that someone can have a huge online following and still feel that lonely and that disconnected.
I
That
totally get
you
that.
know, and so it just kind of made me think today. It's something that's kind of been in the back of my mind for a while, but it just really made me think today.
Yeah. Well, it definitely shows you that is not as important as our minds make it. I mean, the following, the engagement, all of that.
Yeah.
Let's put things in perspective. You really don't know what that person with those 50,000, 500,000, million followers is
Hmm.
experiencing. Like what they're really experiencing and really
Yeah.
feeling. So it just the whole comparison, jealousy, envy. It helps to put it in perspective. Like, oh, I probably just want my own life and my own set of issues to deal with.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know what it's really like to be inside of that person experiencing this world. So, you know, it's great to support and like and follow and even be an influencer. It's just you need definitely to keep
Yeah.
things in perspective. Some
Definitely.
good
And
priorities
yeah, I
as to
mean,
support.
it just made me think about, we have all these avenues to be connected. We have
Mhm.
Facebook, Instagram, we can text, we can Snapchat, we can whatever new ways of communicating. We have all these ways of communicating, but yet people are feeling more and more disconnected, more and more lonely. And I'm not going to put all the blame on social media because it doesn't have it's not the blame. It's just I think it's just one more way that we can that we lose human connection. And I just think that no matter how technologically advanced that we get, we have to remember that we have to, um, you can't discount the effect and the power of a conversation or a smile or a hug or a touch or just to acknowledge, hey, I see you, you're there. I'm glad you're here. You know, it's just, I just think we need more of that in this world. There's a lot of people hurting.
Yeah. And it's human connection, but it distracts you from having a connection with your true self, I think also.
Oh, yeah, yeah, most definitely.
Because you're like, I have to check in with me. It really is a distraction from
Yeah.
facing things, from resolving things, from getting maybe the help that therapy you need, from having the hard conversations with the people in your life.
Hmm.
It can be a distraction, not to blame. It's just
Yeah.
not the answer either.
No, and also,
So,
I think it's easy for it allows people to put on masks
mhm.
also, like and to project this perception of perfection and that we all want to strive for. And life is not perfect. Life is messy. It's meant to be messy. It's not you're not meant to be camera ready every second of the day, or your body's not supposed to be snatched at 54 years old. And it's just although
Shut
I
your
am
mouth.
aiming for
Shut
snatchness
your
at
mouth.
54.
Wax.
Although I am striving for snatchness at
No,
54,
but you're
but
right.
um, it just really invites a lot of comparison, and for people to feel bad about themselves when what they're comparing themselves to is not necessarily real. It's just a comparison. So it's just a lot of things that ran through my mind today.
No,
So
that's serious. I also
yeah,
though think about the other side of it because I'm not sure um we would be able to also see other people, meet other people, connect with other people that are like us that aren't
yeah,
necessarily in our immediate local, you know,
most
local.
definitely, most
And so,
definitely.
like what Erica was mentioning, I think this has allowed so much more networks and the potential for coming together with groups far and wide that we wouldn't have been able to do in the past.
Yeah,
So it's definitely it's an empowering platform, but like everything, there's also the other side of it where you kind of get the imposters and good things can kind of get turned on its ear when,
absolutely.
so it's yeah, it's a tough
Yeah.
thing to recognize what it's the
Yeah.
good that's still there. I feel like we do talk more about the negative, but I think there's probably still more positive than negative. It's just the
For
negative
sure.
outweighs
I
lasting.
mean, yeah. I take a lot of online courses, and
Hmm.
so those courses often have a Facebook group or component with them. So being able to connect with people who are in pursuit of the same knowledge or the same career path has been, I mean, gosh, so it's been a bit of not a lifeline, but it's kept me going. It's kept me
Hmm.
encouraged. Um, and so that has been really positive, just finding like-minded people to walk a journey with, one aspect of my life with. I've met a great group of people who also homeschool through Facebook, and have forms of friendships there. And so it's just like, it has been a source of encouragement when I really look at that and those connections I've been able to make. And so, I'd like to spend more time dwelling on that because I know I've dwelt on the negative aspects quite a
Yeah,
bit. And I think for adults, you know, it's nice to be able to compartmentalize and say, okay, I can throw out the bad parts. I can limit my time. I can turn my news feed off. I can, have those controls. But for children, it's not so easy to shut it off, or to know
Yeah.
when to take a break, or to know that whatever is happening or being said about you in that space is not dictate the outcome of your life, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there should be age limits. I don't know if there should be. I don't know what to do about how important, how significant social media is to these kids' development. It's impacting how they grow, how
Yeah.
they interact, who they think they are, and what they think they can become. And I just feel like there needs to be some, I don't know, some sort of way to protect them.
Yeah, I totally agree, Erica. I mean, you know, it's the world that we live in now, that social media is, unfortunately, some of us don't have the luxury of just turning our backs on it, and especially increasingly our children don't, because it's just because it's just the way that people communicate now, professionally and personally. But as a parent, and this has always been the conundrum, is, as a parent, you can't put them in the bubble, and you can't protect them from everything. And knowledge and information is just a Google search away. So how do you empower your children to have good self-esteem, to know how to discern when things are harmful to them, and harmful to their well-being? It's a struggle being a parent in this day and age, when they have so much information at their fingertips, and that it's a constant onslaught of information as well. It's always there, and the pressure is always there. So I don't have the answer for that. I'm still searching for it. Every day is I have to ask myself that question, and figure it out on a daily basis.
I mean, I do have a friend who successfully kept the phone, like the child having their own phone, at bay until like 17. Um, but of course now he's navigating, but he's more mature. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
but now he's navigating what he should and should not look at, and how much time he should spend on that versus his studies and doing things like that. But there's a little more maturity there. But that doesn't mean, that there aren't negative things and outcomes. So I don't know. I was talking about this with a group of parents recently. Just the whole, okay, how long can you delay mess ups, hiccups, and things to the point where you're crippling them, versus
Exactly.
at what point do you start letting them make the mistakes happen so that they can
Yeah.
grow and be independent, and because mistakes are going to be a part of life. So when you start
Of
letting
course.
them make them and discern and do all of that. But I mean, on social media, there are true safety issues in terms
Yeah.
of the kind of sites they can end up on, and strangers trying to, lure the kids to meet them in person. And I mean, I would just, you know, I mean, I have to protect against that. I have to do
Yeah.
what I can to, keep that at a minimum. And, you try to watch and try to monitor what's happening on TV and YouTube and all that, but it's a lot, a lot.
It is a lot. And as your children get older, you want to give them a little bit more freedom, but freedom at what cost?
Mm.
My husband and I have always taken the tack that we give our kids some freedom. We watch over them closely, but we try to talk to them openly about, and very real about, what's the dangers of social media, and you know um, that adults on social media, and they may parade as children, and that it's not, you just have to be very careful. Don't share personal information, don't accept personal information, um only talk to the people that you know. We try to have all the notifications come to our email addresses, but it's just a lot to keep up with. It just really is a lot to keep up with.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of parents struggle with protecting, but also letting your kids explore, so they can learn how to make mistakes on their own.
Mhm.
Um, I think adults struggle with it. If adults are struggling with this whole wild wild, wild west of technology. Children are struggling with it. So,
Definitely.
Des, Eric and I have been soaking up this conversation with children talk. Do you have any thoughts on what we just talked about?
No, I think, I'm not sure this is going to end. I think so much of it
No.
is for adults as well as children. I feel one of the challenges is that, and I feel like I mentioned this in the last podcast, it doesn't take the place of the identity work, whereas so often
Mm,
adults as well as children, they start to see themselves through this mirror of social media and those interactions. And
yeah.
really that foundation must be laid outside of that context so that this is a conduit and only a conduit, that it's not an extension of necessarily them. It is only a conduit through which to communicate. And I do believe all of us, me included, I've confused the two, that it is a tool that I can manage and I don't have to enable it to influence me beyond what I choose. But again, you get what I'm saying? There's got to be a grounding
Absolutely.
inside of that. And that's for all of the other stuff that'll come through beyond, I mean, just 2 decades ago, we were not at this level of transparency and yet hiding. You know what I'm saying? And so,
Yeah.
and reality TV, I think you add all of these other pieces. I
Hmm.
believe we've gone overboard with the amount of exposure, but we've not protected what Erica mentioned, true privacy, and really allowed our own identities to develop outside of those mediums. And so I feel like it just means we've all got to beef up on that side of it, certainly for our children, because they don't have the ability to differentiate. But as adults, we have to figure it out, and
Yeah.
be able to pass it on.
Yeah. I think it's just maintaining interpersonal relationships, maintaining, it's fine that you communicate and you meet people online. I think it's a great way to meet people and a great way to have relationship when you may not have the time or ability to go out in person and meet people. But you just can't discount the quality of human
I agree.
interaction.
I
You just
agree.
can't.
Online dating bugs me, and yet I did it when it first
Glad you
came
brought that
out.
up.
Okay, I was
Yeah, I'm
in it.
glad you
I
brought that
was
up
in it
too.
before it was hot. I was in it before it was hot.
Say that again, Des.
A lesson.
What did you say? Say it
It
again.
was quite a lesson. It was quite a lesson. It
Yeah.
was the exact lesson you just mentioned, Amy. Whereas I feel like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was people posing as just others, and it was
Man.
it forced me to start to question
Mhm.
every aspect of meeting people. You know what I mean? So on a certain level, I feel like it took away the ability to kind of approach a person with the best intentions and to assume that they're really who they are. You get what I'm saying? It made me cynical. It made me,
No, it's funny that you mentioned that. Do you think that this whole concept of kind of molding these personas and throwing on these masks, do you think it started with online dating? I mean, it's been years since I've dated, 20 years. But I do remember like 20 years ago, chat rooms, that's when chat rooms first started and
chat
online
rooms,
dating
right?
first kind of started. And it was wild, wild west out there. It was like people,
I mean, guys was doing that before, okay?
yeah,
Driving somebody
yeah, for
else's
sure.
car. So it just enabled the fantasy, I think. I
Did
don't
it?
think it just
I think
made
it
it
made the
way
fantasy.
easier.
Yeah, I just think it upped the ante in terms of the fantasy and these personas that people created. Like it just made people
Absolutely.
become a lot more imaginative, and it's
So what
yeah,
type?
Men and women
I
included.
want to know more. What types of deception was taking place? Like, I want to know more.
Okay. We just gotta open the kimono one piece at a time. So here's the real deal. I mean, in my experience, the truth is the flags were there. I mean, you kind of sort of have to be completely naive to not catch pieces, parts, right? Because
yeah,
what I do agree with is our ability to listen is so much more than our ability to hear. You know, you're
Mm.
picking everything up. And so even if you're in person with someone, you have that many more you know, receptors to kind of see what's going on, but obviously everything else is heightened when it is in a virtual way. And
Mhm.
so I remember the deception started early, Erica. It started early because the site I was on at the time, this was before you would kind of just see a snapshot and, you know, you kind of do communication. And then if you'd enter to this next phase, you can then have more pictures that you can share. You know, it's like all of it was on the site. And so
Mm.
this particular person had pictures that were like literally freaking 15, 20 years old. I mean, like they was old pictures, okay? When
Okay.
I finally saw him do in a face to face, I'm just like, what the devil? Like, what you is you is frumpy and bald. Waka flocka, where's your hair at? Like, who
Did you say
this?
what?
Who this? So it was like, ding, ding, ding. Red flag number one, you know?
Yeah, we can't go on. Like, if you have no recent pictures, there's no telling what else you have. Oh my
Oh,
God.
that was just crazy. And although I
Oh.
don't think it was deception, it was, you know, people you would post pictures to paint a certain picture, and of course you would use those pictures to kind of paint a certain picture relative to kind of conversation. And I remember having a picture with me, and I mean, I guess I was deceptive too. It wasn't my dog. It was like my sister friend dog. You understand what I'm saying? But I like dogs. So I'm like all hugged up with the animal. This was not my animal. But, you
Mm.
know, the person used that and they were like, "Oh man, I love dogs too." You know, so and maybe that's in virtual world that's what happens, right? Because you don't necessarily have to mention something for it to
Mm.
become a point of conversation. It's like you can post it and now everything becomes a point of conversation. So it was definitely interesting.
Wow.
Interesting. Such that I have not gone back to online dating. But but I believe it can work. I do. I believe it can work. I just, you know, I'm
So I mean,
glad to
so
know.
many
Yeah.
people that I meet. I mean, not so many people that I meet, but I mean, so many people where I asked, how did you all meet? It's now we met on an app,
Mhm.
and so I know
Totally.
it works. I know
Yeah.
two
Absolutely.
couples where they're getting married, that kind of thing.
I do as
Probably more
well.
than that. I know more than that. So I know it's a viable way to meet someone these days, but I can't imagine what the people went through before they got to the
I
right
was
one.
gonna say, I mean, which is why there are like whole businesses that have been built around how to date online, how to post you know, um, a credible profile. I mean, it's interesting, but to your
Really?
point, oh yes,
Wow.
I have bought them. I have bought the online courses,
Man.
just haven't used them. But
Wow.
yeah, it's a mindset, and I think a part of me, don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm a little, like I said, my mind is tainted, but the mindset, the approach in the online dating world is absolutely, you know, the whole swipe left, swipe right, you know, whether that's the app or not. Meaning you immediately make an assumption, immediately make a decision because you do not waste time because you're being bombarded with a lot. And my concern is, wow, you could really pass up someone good, but that is just not that world. It's not how it works. There's no way you can take that much time to get to know everyone. You've got to have very strict criteria to screen
Hmm.
out. And,
Hmm.
you know, and so it's a very technological way of dating. And again, I'm not against it. I'm just not in that yet.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I can only imagine the need or the desire to have explore the options, but not having the energy to.
Yeah, not having the energy. I mean,
Yeah,
technology kind of
or
helps you
time.
then, but then yeah. And I believe, okay, let's pin this. I know there are challenges now. The whole dynamics of dating in general has changed, and I do believe music culture has impacted that. I believe the online dating culture has impacted that, where there's a loss, in my opinion, of empathy, and there's a loss of basic benefit of the doubt, believing in humanity. I don't
Mhm.
have data yet. I don't have data. Maybe it
Right.
exists. If anyone
Mhm.
watching knows of this data, help us to know. But I think it's lost that. And I feel like we've lost Amy.
We have lost Amy.
We've lost our hostess.
Oh man. Um, that's that's fascinating. How many different aspects of our lives that it affects. I guess it affects all of the aspects of our lives, really,
All
or
of
it
it.
can. So it's totally powerful. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. You think you will? You said you think you would try it again, maybe?
Oh dear.
Online dating?
I I would like to try it again. I think a lot of it is I think you said it's the energy, and it's not exactly where I want to place my energy, and I don't, I don't think it's the sort of thing you can kind of show up to
Half.
half in it. You need to be all in. And like I said, I don't want to show up with this kind of zero expectation. Like everything, I think you have to show up with expectation. I think it's important to show up believing there is someone out there for me in this particular medium, and I'm not there. So would I try it? I want to believe I will. I'm praying the old fashioned way happens first.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is fair. I think she's coming back.
I don't I'm hoping Amy returns, but
I know
I'm
too.
back.
other thoughts? Oh, here she is.
Yeah, I'm back. Can y'all hear me?
Hi. Yeah, sure
Hi.
can.
Okay,
Hey,
camera's not working, but that's okay.
it's all
Um,
good.
sorry I missed part of your adventures in online dating, but
Ah, not much.
um,
Well, I'm curious, God forbid,
yeah.
nothing will happen to your husbands. Would either of you go that route?
Um, I
Or
mean,
can
I
go
I
blink
would.
20 times?
that day, Amy.
I would be
Mm,
open to it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really thought about that, Des, but I know when I was single, I dabbled in online dating, and it was interesting. But but if I ever had to go back on into the dating scene, would I do it? I wouldn't rule it out. I don't know if it would be my first go to um option, but I probably wouldn't rule it out. How about you, Erica?
I cannot believe I'm contemplating this question. I think I never did it. Um, I guess it just kind of predates me or whatever. I'm too old. Like I met my husband younger, and so it just wasn't a thing yet. And I can't imagine it.
You
I
can
can't
or you can't?
imagine that I could set the fear aside enough for it.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
have fear. I mean, like I can't even go there in my mind that would be something that I would do. Not in a judgy way when I'm saying that I know myself in my own, just how my brain runs crazy. But I would support a friend or a sister or a niece doing it. I'm like, go ahead. Live your life. I'll be
I
I'll
ain't
be
doing it.
I'll screen them,
I ain't
But then
girl.
like knowing myself, what you said?
I said, I ain't gonna do it, but girl, do it.
But girl, you do you.
I guess I'm praying I wouldn't need it on
Absolutely.
for any
Won't need
reason.
it. You won't need
But
it.
that if I were for any reason, I don't know. I just would rather just have a face to face encounter. But I mean,
It eventually
online
does.
becomes a face to face.
Um,
If you may, if it's something worth doing, it can become that. I can't see it.
I get
That is
that.
quite the interesting question, Diz. It's quite the interesting question. I mean, how do people meet in real life now? Like,
I have no idea.
if you're single, where do you meet?
No
Everybody
idea.
I was online.
No, they start. So there's an interesting theory that at a certain age, if you're not married, that it makes sense to go back through your past relationships, see if they're available, and choose from that picking, right? And so
Huh.
There was a whole
which is
movie.
Facebook. Facebook. That's kind of why Facebook facilitates. I don't know
Okay.
there's data out on this yet, but I know
That's
certainly several people who have, reconnected in some way on
right.
Facebook.
Well, there was a movie with Paula Patton, I think, where she did that. She was like a flight attendant. Y'all remember?
I did.
And
I
so
saw
she
that.
started flying
Yes.
around,
Yes.
reconnecting with old boyfriends. I can't even remember how it turned out, but she tried it. I don't think it worked so much. I think she ended up with the friend that was always there.
Exactly. Sure did. You sure did.
But that's a thing. Revisiting old friendships. I don't
Yeah.
know
I don't.
necessarily.
Yeah. That's like, when they say a dog licking its vomit. Mm-mm.
That's quite the visual, Diz. But I'm with you on. I concur with that sentiment. I don't think I want to go back down memory lane. And yeah, they're in the background mirror for a reason. They're in the, they're
Yeah. I
they're the
mean,
past for
maybe
a
there's
reason.
one or two. Maybe one or two. Maybe one
I
or
don't-
two.
Yeah, I mean, I know some situations where that has worked out, where people
Yeah.
connected with somebody they dated for a minute in high school, and it
Yeah.
worked out. You know what I'm saying?
I tried that. Yeah. They didn't.
Try
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
did.
did.
I gave it a shot. After they get divorced and whatnot, if they get
Mhm.
divorced to be widowed,
Well,
it's like a normal thing. Oh,
I mean, and personally, I always have my eyes open for Desiree's future mate. I do. I'm
you
always.
do. You
We
is
don't even
not.
live in the same city, but I'm like, oh, I just wonder if I. And then it's like, okay, he's married. He's not straight. He's,
Right.
it's something. So it's
I
just like,
appreciate.
okay. So I can imagine how hard. I can only imagine how hard it is
Yeah, I
to
think it's
even find
challenging, but
a people.
I also feel like it shouldn't be that big a deal. Like I know they say it's the percentages and all, and this can easily be a podcast, I'm sure, but I don't think it needs to be that complicated because, when you're younger, it's not that complicated. Granted, the pool is different, but I think it's one of those things that can work, meaning you're at different stages of life. There are people available at every stage of life. You know what I'm saying? And so I do believe some of this for me anyway is timing. So I've learned to embrace that in the sense of, wow, this is probably not the best time